Hey, it's the Catalyst Sessions again. Bill DeYoung here, and thanks for joining us. My guest tonight is Karla Hartley, who is the producing artistic director of Stageworks Theatre, and I'm here to tell you, hi Karla, by the way.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Good.
A little hungry, it's the afternoon. But I'm here to tell the world that Karla was, I think, the fourth guest on the Catalyst Sessions, and we haven't spoken with her since March 30th. And I'm not saying we're near the end here, but that was definitely at the beginning of the pandemic. Welcome and belated happy birthday to
Thank
you.
you so much. I appreciate that.
That was just 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? You turned
the 29th, May 29th.
You turned 29th, wasn't it? You turned 29 on 29th?
29, exactly. No,
I watched the whole video today with all your friends on there, and that must have been really nice. It was like, I've had real birthday parties where I didn't have that many people kind of show up. So that was kind of
cool. It was fun. I'm not entirely sure that we knew what we were doing then either. But it was a good time, and we raised a fair amount of money through the theater. So
that's what I was going to ask you. You said on there, if you could talk about it. Oh, we raised $7,400. Is that one of those Facebook birthday fundraisers? I'm raising money for.
Kind of. I mean, we didn't do it over Facebook. We did it through a donation link on the website at the theater.
Oh yeah, even better. Yeah.
It was really gratifying. I mean, I have been in the community for a long time, and it turns out people like me. So
I've been in the community for a long time, but I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still not sure. But it was great.
When you turn 50, we'll do that for you.
Well, I just turned 61, so never mind.
Happy birthday.
Well, it's been a few months. Stop me in November. Listen, man, I'm halfway to 62, so back in March, Karla, we're talking about, well, depending on how long this lasts, and you just kind of begrudgingly put the knife into 12 Angry Men and said, okay, that's,
Yeah.
But it was so, there was still a lot of hopefulness in there. It may be a month, it may be 3 weeks, we may come back in June. And I mean, here we are. Obviously, at some point you scrubbed the rest of the season and said, we're not doing this.
Yeah. We're very hopeful that we will do those plays.
Right.
But there's still so much, and it's cliche now, uncertainty around what the future will be, whether there'll be, I think they're seeing that since the reopening of the state of Florida, the COVID numbers are rising again.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say. I mean, at the moment, we're permitted theoretically to be open. And to do things at 50% of our capacity, which for us would be about 45, 50 people.
Well, I mean, do you feel that's a good question, because I mean, I get a sense that you do. That you feel that might be kind of irresponsible this early.
And also, but with social distancing in place, it really only means about 30 people. So we're going to start to open to small events. We're going to make sure that we have masks that are required. We're going to make sure that people's temperatures are taken as they're coming into the theater. And we're going to maintain social distancing protocols as we need to.
When you say small events, are you talking about your one-act plays? Or?
No, it's not. Look, at 30 seats, which is the most I think we can do with social distancing.
With spacing, yeah.
It's just not fiscally responsible to produce. Setting aside the morality of having a bunch of people in the room together.
Well, that's what I was saying before, irresponsible or whatever, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But look, Stageworks has been around since 1983.
Yeah.
We very much hope to be around till 2083.
Yeah.
And to begin to fully produce something in this moment, when we can only have X number of seats in the room would mean that we would lose a significant amount of So it's not a financially responsible thing for us to be doing at the moment. Um, the
Well, wait a second though. When you say, if it's not fiscally responsible, we would be losing money.
Mhm.
Aren't you by being dark all the time losing money anyway?
Well, it turns out if you don't produce theater, you don't spend a lot of money.
Boy, there's a catch-22, huh?
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
especially, and understand that I'm the only full-time employee.
Yeah.
We have a number of part-time employees whom we are keeping. We are still paying at least a small amount for them to let them know that we are with them, and that we want them to we want to in some small way help them as they
That's
move
nice.
through,
Yeah.
right. But if you look, larger theaters, you look at the Oslo, or you look at even American Stage, where there's a full staff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't envy those larger theaters with larger staffs at all, because it's a much harder row to hoe, I think.
It's a bigger machine to keep oiled.
Right.
When there's nothing to do.
Yeah. And we were also blessed to have done our major fundraiser for the year in early February.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's been very, very helpful. My finance chair, Santosh Govindaraju, has been very forward thinking with respect to emergency relief funds from the government and elsewhere. We're doing okay. However, if I start to spend $25,000, $30,000 on a play, and can only get 30 people in the room, I'm going to end up losing,
not going to pay for itself.
Significant amount of money. So it's challenging. So when I say we're going to open to small things, we are going to, in addition to the virtual program that we started, we're going to do some in-person classes, beginning probably the middle of July. Mm-hmm. And again, that's with a very limited class size, so that we can socially distance properly in the theater, and and do all of those things with the masks and the hand sanitizing and all of the precautions that are helpful.
That makes actually to do classes makes so much sense. This is something that's come up here on the Catalyst sessions quite a few times. Mm-hmm. with people who either Allison Burns was on here last week, for example, someone who does acting lessons, who teaches and maybe teaches voice. Dancers, forget it. I mean, I had a few, Andy Scott was on here too. How do you teach those things virtually? Mm-hmm. It is better to be in the room, even on a smaller scale. I mean, that would be the truth with the acting classes that you're talking about, with the theater classes. If we can only have 5-6 people.
And then we can only do certain kinds of work, right? So we can't do work that's like combat based. We're not gonna put people close together.
Sure, contact stuff, yeah.
Right. We're gonna focus on monologue work. We're gonna focus on pairs work that is inherently distanced. So it's going to be a challenge to sort of figure out how to do that, but it's a greater challenge, I think, to figure out how to teach acting on over a digital space. Yeah, because it's a personal experience between instructor and student. It
doesn't require that big audience that's like a big
right. Right. And some of the classes will remain in the digital space. I'm going to teach, I haven't really decided if it's going to be in person or over Zoom or what have you. Oh, yeah. But I'm going to teach a class that I'm calling, but what I really want to do is direct. So, and it'll be a play a month. We'll sort of really take it apart and look at it as the director would. And
that's neat. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun. I'm excited about it because text analysis is really my jam. And I like to know how plays are put together and what's happening internally with each of those characters. It's really that's a really exciting part of the work for me. So we're going to do that. We're going to have some classes that are geared towards young people as well, or rather camps, week-long intensives.
Mhm.
So we're trying to fill to bridge the gap as best we can. I'm also going to be open to small rental business.
Mm.
I have a couple of churches that work in this space, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out if when they wish to come back. And if you want to have a baby shower where everybody sits 6 feet apart, I'm your girl. But
I saw Morningside. That was quite a baby show.
oh, thank you. We got a good time with that. Yeah, that did real well, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to bring it back in the not too distant future.
Well, you raised a point. It's something you said made me think. You said, "Well, this is my jam," and this is that. I remembered the conversation that we had because, well, I cheated. I watched the whole thing today, and, despite the cheesy camera work and the constant buffering and everything else.
I trust I look better with some better lighting and some makeup too.
Well, I'm not. You always look great. It was me. Forget it. But we had this talk about the word we use because you've written this letter is amputation. It's like theater artists are going to feel that the limb is still there. And now it's been 2.5 months, and I would imagine, my point is that someone like you, the people in your orbit, the other theater artists, the actors, directors, the designers, whatever, are jonesing to do something now because that part of their life was just cut off suddenly.
Yeah, and I think that's in a couple of ways. People are very anxious to work. One, we all need to make money, and we all need to pay our bills, and we all need to do those things.
Yeah.
And performers have not been able to do that, which is very, very difficult, just from a financial perspective for each individual who's not able to work.
Well, financially, sure, but also this is what I do, and I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, there've been times in my life when I didn't have work, I didn't have a gig for however long. But I always knew that the next gig was coming. And I kind of always knew sort of when the next gig was coming. So it's been very interesting. I never realized until this shutdown happened just how much of my spiritual balance is tied to art making.
Uh-huh. What I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really, really difficult. I mean, obviously I've had the business side of the company to run and trying to sort of come up with creative ideas and ways of working. But I've never gone this long without making art.
Without some show in or something you're writing or working on.
Right.
In some part of production or rehearsal or something. Always something going.
Right.
You get the sun out of your eyes there, I think.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. It happens to me all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
But which is part of the reason, I don't know, I've started a podcast, an audio podcast.
Oh, that's next on my list to talk with you about.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Talking to, and part of the reason I began to do it was because I love podcasts. I listen to a bunch of them.
Oh yeah.
I love the storytelling that's engaged, that's involved in those kinds of podcasts. But I was really craving connection. I was craving artistic conversation that edified both people in the conversation, or in some cases, the 3 people who are in the conversation. And I really, and I've been feeling for a long time that the regional artist gets a bad rap. You're always asked sort of, why aren't you in New York? Why aren't you in Chicago? Why aren't you in a larger market doing the things that you do here? And I think that it's time for the regional artists to have their voice, that we have our lives here, that there are as many, if not more, talented people per capita here than there are in larger markets like New York and Chicago. But we as artists have made choices that leave us in our home communities or in our adoptive communities, whichever. So I wanted to give the regional artists a voice. I wanted to talk initially to people in this area, But I've expanded a little bit to artists with whom I've worked who don't live here but do live in other areas of the country.
Yeah.
So that's what and it's been really great. I mean, I'll release the second episode tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
And the first episode was with my wife.
With Noreen, I listened to it today.
Yeah.
I thought it was fabulous.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thanks.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give artists and those who are artist adjacent, and those who support the arts, and if you would like to come, those who write about and
Sure.
and support the arts. And I've been having a great time with it, and I look forward to hopefully it getting a larger audience and being able to do it for quite some time.
I don't know I know a lot of regional artists too, and I don't know how they do it. And it seems to me, I mean, see if I'm wrong here, but with actors, a lot of them when they're young and right out of college or whatever they're doing, I'm going to New York, and they always come home. Wait tables for a few years. I mean, there are a few exceptions. Ephraim Sykes is probably the exception of the rule here, but who I'm trying to get on this show, by the way, one of these days. But eventually, that sort of dissipates, and they go, "Yeah, I don't really need to be in New York and try and do this," unless they get big and famous, and that 1 out of every 6 million. But they go home and find that there's a very healthy way to make a living as a professional theater artist.
Yeah.
And still live in your hometown.
Yeah, for sure. And still have, the family that you want to create and a permanent home that you want to create, and do really good work. I mean, and I think might sound a little, I don't even know, but, I mean, would you rather be here doing a really interesting play, or would you rather be doing SpongeBob SquarePants the musical? Do you know what I'm saying? So
I think national tour, yeah.
Right, and and if that's your jam and you want to go do that, bless you. I think that you should do that.
Oh yeah.
But I think the opportunity to do interesting plays, as a performer, as an artist, as an activist, here or in other smaller markets around the country, I think the odds are better that you're gonna do something that is artistically fulfilling in a smaller place where the more interesting work is being done.
You talk about regional artists getting a bad rap. You weren't good enough to go to New York or whatever. But I could count on both hands and feet, and probably yours too, the number of really, really good actors around here.
Absolutely.
And I've seen them on your stage. I've seen them on all the other stages too.
Yeah, equity and non-equity. I mean, I think we have a great balance of people who are engaged in the union and those who are not. And we do really good work, and I know that really good work is being done in other regions of the country. So I wanted to be able to showcase the artists here who I love and I think are talented, and let everybody know that, Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, this whole sort of, even Orlando, this sort of general area is rife with talent. And just because we choose not to sort of jump into the rat race of gigging and auditioning in the major market like New York or Chicago or LA or wherever, I think that this is as valuable and as right a choice as any other.
I'm proud to live in this area at this time and see all the in a normal world, all the things that are happening. We should say that your podcast is called State of the Arts.
Yes.
And the first one, as we said, was with the lovely Noreen, which is really fun. The second one drops tomorrow. Who's it with?
Drops tomorrow. Originally I had I was editing one down, and then with all of the tension of late, I kind of now I've sort of shifted the focus to as for this next podcast to be artist as activist and art as a form of social justice. So I think what I'm gonna do for tomorrow is taking bits and pieces of different conversations from a number of different people and sort of blending them together in a podcast that talks about how arts can be both active and arts can be healing, and how we might all look towards the arts for strength and for opportunity as we move through what are really very difficult societal times.
Yeah, can we expound on that? Because I actually wrote something down about that. I mean, in situations like this, with what's going on right now, the arts are always, and I love this, that I live and work on the fringe of the arts, because been very vocal platforms for activism and protest and change. And what can we do? I mean, what exactly I was going to ask you to elucidate on what you'd said about what the arts can do in times like this.
Well, I think that each of us does what they are going to do in their own way. In Stageworks, very shortly, I'm going to put out a call for protest stories. To sort of put together, and it doesn't have to be in this current protest environment. It can be in a protest that you attended when you were whenever, but sort of to collect protest stories and to sort of and to find a way to engage in and digest what is happening on front lines of any given struggle. So that's a project that we're gonna start to move forward with probably first of next week. I think that what people don't understand in general is that the artist is society's historian. Most of, if not all, of what we know about the history of our civilization, we know because a painter painted a painting about it, a literary artist wrote it down, someone built a piece of music about it. In this day and age, videographers, right, are recording the history that's happening now, and not just in a sort of photojournalist way, but in many in a really artistic way, that
reflections of the times.
Right, and that's what people will see 100 years from now. So I think that documentation is part of the artist's job as we move through any times in society. It's a playwright's job, certainly, as we move through any time in society. But times of upheaval, times of very very difficult challenges are the times when the arts will really begin to shine. And foster an understanding between any two groups. I mean, I say all the time, and for anybody who's watching who've heard me say it a million times, I apologize, but one of the greatest things about theater is that about live performance, is that you are sitting next to someone who is not like you and engaging in the same experience.
Oh, yeah.
And my hope is that whether it's an intermission or after the show or however that manifests itself, my hope is that you'll turn to this person next to you who is not like you and begin to have a conversation about what you've just experienced. And that, I think, fosters understanding, or at least fosters communication. And the arts at its core, I think, are about engendering empathy across any number of lines, political, socioeconomic. My goal is for you to understand the story that is put forth in front of you may not be about you or your set of friends or your class or what have you, but there is a commonality and that there is a universality in everything that you see, or at least that's my goal as I choose work for the theater, is to show people the lives of others and encourage them to look at them with generosity and compassion, rather than from rather than from a place of siloing. It feels like we're all so separate from one another, certainly now more than ever, as I talk to you on a screen rather than over a cup of coffee.
Right, right.
So my hope is that the arts can bring different segments of society together in ways that other mediums can't. And that might sound sort of Pollyanna, and it might sound, I don't know. I mean, I refuse to be shamed for the work that we do. I think it's important. I think it's God's work. And I want everybody to understand that it is as important to a healthy culture as financial states, as any other sort of issues that the culture engages in. It is as important as all of that. And without all of those things together, there is no real holistic space in which a culture thrives. So that's my preaching for today, Bill.
Here, here. Wow. So eloquent. So let me go from the sublime to the ridiculous for a quick second.
Okay.
You I don't know, I wrote it down. You said something on your birthday video about doing singing telegrams.
Oh, yeah.
What's up with that? That's very cool. Is it true, first of all?
You know, when we were all sort of not doing anything, I was like, how can I get people working? And how can I do it in a way that helps people connect to one another in ways that they aren't able to now? You know, and I started thinking, well, you know, if porch art, you know, can I send singers to porches in various neighborhoods and just do sort of an impromptu concert. But then we're also looking at the theater, and I think any theater is, for ways of achieving a certain level of sustainability beyond the theater work that we do, right? So, you know, I thought the opportunity to sort of revive the singing telegram in a way that's, you know, doesn't have anybody in a gorilla suit.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, no, none of that. It's not that that's not. If you do that, I'm not. Don't be mad at me.
No. It's a worthy.
You know, in a way that sends a singer who is very, very talented, and wants to, you know, if you want to send a message to your mom or whomever, you can give us a call, and I'll send a really wonderful singer out to her porch or her doorstep. Obviously, we'll keep it distance as we need to, but I thought it was a nice way to sort of begin to help people connect to each other, even if they can't be in the same room in the same city. So we'll do it live. We'll do it via tape if whoever you want to send your message to is in New Jersey. We'll do it.
Request people. In other words, if I want to send Karla Hartley singing telegram, can I say I want Carrie Getz to do it? You know, I mean, does it work that way?
I don't.
That's just an example, Carrie. That's all.
You'll have an opportunity to choose from a list of songs. I can't promise an individual, I don't think, just because of schedules and
oh yeah.
But
I'll slip you an extra $25 or so, you know.
Well, and if it's a song that it's not sort of on the prescribed list, then if there's something else you really want to have sung, we can do that for, you know, for a little bit more dinero. But I think it's going to be fun. You know, we're almost finished with the order form, so it should go live in the next couple of days.
A lot of great singers in this area too.
Yeah, for sure. And so I've got a bunch of singers who are interested and willing to do it. And I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be fun.
In the meantime, we have the State of the Art podcast.
Yeah.
Which will second, and this is all, you can get this through the website, or does one go through the Facebook page?
Well, we'll put it on the website. It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify. It's on all of those. I mean, it originates from a place called Spreaker.
Okay.
So it's there too, but iTunes, Spotify, all those things. We will obviously put a link on the Facebook page, on the Instagram stuff, and through the website. So, and I'm having a good time with it, and I hope that people are patient enough to sit and listen to two people talking for. Well, they're doing it right now.
Yeah, that's right. So in the meantime, also we have actors sing for you, which I think is great. And Georgia, if you're watching, that Girls Just Want to Have Fun was fabulous. And
Right, we're doing that. We're doing some story time.
staycation story times. Yeah.
Yeah, for younger people, we're doing that. I just recorded this morning a couple of different stories in Spanish because we want to make sure that we're still focusing on the initiatives that the theater has begun. When
A is for activists. I saw that one.
Yeah, A is for activists. So I did a couple more this morning. So it'll be a mixture of Spanish and English. For the last couple of weeks, that Saturday afternoon song that you're talking about.
Yeah.
We're really focusing on not necessarily singers in the area, but I think last week we did the Glory from Selma. We put a YouTube link to that. This week we're gonna do this really great Nina Simone clip of a song called Mississippi Goddamn.
Yeah.
So we're trying to focus on really civil rights based material for the moment, because we need to respond to the moment. It would be irresponsible of me to in this moment put out The Girls Just Want to Have Fun. As
well, yeah, I just like, because I'm a big fan of George's, and I thought it was cute. But yes,
she's pretty swell. She'll be on the podcast too.
Oh, good. We are almost out of time, but I have one thing I want to share, and we're going to go out with this. Okay. And this is from a production of 12 Angry Men in Savannah, and I want to say 2011, 2010. And you find me.
Yes. I see you.
With the cheesy mustache.
Yeah, it was like you got a porn stash going.
I was looking forward to seeing this show. It's, maybe.
And you will see the show. It's just not right away. It's every day I walk into the theater and that set is up on our stage, and it hurts my heart just a little bit to know.
That's what David Jenkins says. The Doubt set, I think, is still sitting there up on his stage. Yeah.
So, but we will do the play. We won't be able to do it right away for a number of reasons: the size of the cast, how close they're going to be to one another, all of that stuff. Yeah. So you'll see it, just not when we thought you were going to see it.
And Anna in the Tropics it's going to find its way to Stageworks.
Yeah, we will absolutely get to Anna in the Tropics. We're exploring now the beginning of a notion. So if anybody wants to send me some money and make it a reality, that's the notion, good.
The idea of the thought.
The thought of I've really become fond of the idea of doing Anna in the Tropics as a site-specific work in a cigar factory in Ybor.
Wow, you heard it here first, folks.
Cool. So that's something that we're really seriously talking about. It's going to require, obviously, some time to get all of that set up. It's going to require probably a significantly more money than we typically would put into a play, just because it's in a new place and there's electricity and.
Well, yeah. But how cool!
Yeah, I do think it'll be a pretty. I keep going into the sunlight dapple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think it'll be a great experience. So we're gonna do Anna in the Tropics. It's gonna take a little bit more time than we might have liked it to, but hopefully we can do it in a way that broadens the experience for everybody who comes to see it. So that's all the news that's fit to print at the moment.
Well, I think it's a good place to end. Karla, always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. You are as well. So, and I appreciate what you're doing. It's great to see friends on your cast, and sometimes it's the only way we're going to see them. So
it's a virtual way from my house to yours.
Right.
Anyway, take care, and we will see you soon. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.